Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hit the bell, subscribe. We have new content coming out daily. Make sure you subscribe. God bless you guys. Professor Dershowitz, you're fired up today for good reason. Are you seeing any indication amongst any of the classical liberals, not leftists, liberals that still speak to you, that they think this is an overreach, that they're a little uncomfortable with how the government is treating Donald Trump? Or is it, okay, tell us about that.
I don't see it widespread because most people who claim to be liberals are anything but. Most people who claim to be progressive or woke are anything but. They are Stalinists, many of them, who just want to suppress any free speech or due process that doesn't satisfy their own goals. But there are a handful of classic liberals still left. Jack Goldsmith wrote a piece in the New York Times the other day saying, although there's an argument that maybe Trump did commit crimes, he shouldn't be prosecuted because he's running for president against the incumbent, and you have to be absolutely certain that you have a slam dunk case if you're going to go after that. Otherwise, you're a banana republic. You know, on my podcast, I do a podcast Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on Rumble. I give out bananas, and we're up to 2, maybe 3 bananas on a scale of 10. Ecuador gets 10 for obviously assassinating a presidential candidate. We're not close to that, hopefully, thank God. But what we're doing now earns at least 2 or 3 bananas on the scale of banana republics. And that's what worries me. When you're going after the man running for president against the incumbent, you have to lean over backwards to be absolutely fair. You have to make sure you're not stretching the law, stretching the facts, but that you're applying it absolutely fairly in the same way you would apply it to members of your own party. That test has not been satisfied.
No, and I'm not sure how we remedy this, Professor. I think it would be a little bit of a blow if Donald Trump is able to defeat these charges in court. Would you agree with that? Would that lessen their intensity for going after political dissidents to humiliating defeat in court?
I think so, but he's not going to be defeated at trial in the District of Columbia, which is 95% anti-Trump. He's not going to be defeated in front of this judge who has a history and a background that obviously reflects an anti-Trump bias. He's not going to be defeated in Fulton County. He might be defeated in Florida. He will be defeated, I predict, on appeal. It was Mark Levin who called me the legal Nostradamus because I have predicted all these things, not because I'm smarter than the other people, but I predicted, for example, that the Hunter Biden deal would not be accepted because I make my predictions based on 60 years of experience, not on the basis of wishful thinking. CNN's predictions have been wrong on almost every occasion. I was hoping CNN would put on a show in which they showed their, quote, experts making predictions, and then they showed how none of the predictions came true. I wish they would do that. They won't do that. They won't admit that they're misleading the American public by their false predictions, but they are. And, I predict that these verdicts at trial will go against Trump, many of them, but not on appeal. The courts will not tolerate this kind of abuse of the legal system.
Now, do you mean the actual D.C. appeals, or do you mean the Supreme Court of the United States, potentially?
I think first the Court of Appeals, which is a lot fairer than the jurors will be in this case, but then ultimately the Supreme Court, which has to review cases involving a presidential candidate. That's
and a former president. Yes.
Yeah.
I think they have to take the case.
Future possible president. Yeah. Yeah.
They have to take it. Now, would they go through the merits of the case or the prosecutorial issues there involved?
Both. But let me give you an example. The special prosecutor Smith indicted him under the Ku Klux Klan statute, which talks about hooded and masked men driving formerly enslaved people away from the voting booths. And it says that if 2 or more people conspire to deny any citizen their constitutional rights, they're guilty of a crime. Well, what if the courts ultimately rule that Smith has denied Trump his constitutional rights by indicting him for these false charges? Would he be guilty under his own statute? Would he be guilty of lying by leaving out the key words? He tried to describe the speech on January 6th, a speech I disapprove of, but constitutionally protected. But Smith willfully, deliberately, and maliciously left out the words peacefully and patriotically when he purported to describe the speech of January. That's a lie of omission, which under the law can be just as serious as a lie of commission.
I haven't heard anyone make that point. That's why Professor Dershowitz is the best in the game.